So President Trump is going to impose a 20% tariff on Mexico to build his Mexican border wall. Has anyone questioned why a wall?
I grew up behind the wall, so I have quite special relation to the wall.
What are some other mechanisms that we could use to prevent immigration? Why is Trump so committed to a physical barrier?
And the last layer would be 1/2 inch plasterboard, which is also drywall.
One of the options that's available is a worker screening process. You apply for a job and you have to prove that you're legally allowed to work in the United States. So what does your employer do? Your employer takes your information and they report to the government your social security number and your ID, and the government comes back and confirms, yes, this person is registered with the government. They are legally allowed to work in the United States.
Do you know what E-Verify is?
No. Hi, I'm here to talk to you about unlimited background checks at eVerify.com.
Verify, for one thing, takes all the chances of discrimination out of it. You are just as likely to catch a white, perfectly English-speaking Canadian who's illegal as you are to get somebody who's from a third world and can't speak English.
That type of system, expanding that type of system, and imposing strict fines on companies that employ illegal immigrants.
Verify individuals quickly through an easy-to-use comprehensive system at eVerify.com. To get started, we require only one of the following on any individual: name, phone number, address, or even an email address.
No one's going to come to the United States if they can't find work. And so if you're a business owner and you realize that there's a $100,000 fine for employing illegal immigrants, you're simply not going to employ illegal immigrants, and people aren't going to come to the United States if they can't work.
I came here to apply for the job.
Okay.
So why does Trump want a physical wall? What is it about building an actual physical wall that makes that the premier idea, the idea that the politicians are telling us is exactly what we need to do, when there are many other mechanisms that you could use to prevent illegal immigration? What's in it for them? Why do they want a border wall?
I don't want to hear any of this garbage. Stop.
Trump has a long history of personally using immigrant labor to build his various buildings, to do various service jobs within his company. There's even some videos floating out there of him giving a talk during the presidential campaign to Napa Valley wine growers, telling them that of course they're still going to have migrant labor to come for harvest. The issue is not preventing immigration. The issue is having documented workers, having people that are clearly screened, and a process in place where the government is definitively involved in who is entering the United States, how long they're here, and how long until they leave. So when you really look at Trump's past, even his rhetoric to a very large extent, he's not arguing that he wants to get rid of immigrants or migrant labor. What he wants is to have more control over it. What he wants is to be able to decide how much labor is supplied.
In Nagaland state, due to the corrupted system of the government and the higher officials, educated unemployed people like me are rendered jobless.
The really interesting thing about all of this, though, is it still doesn't really explain why he's so focused on building this wall. The people that voted for Trump didn't care if he really put up a wall or not. They will support Trump even if he comes back and says, we're going to do things to reduce immigration, I'm going to bring jobs back, but I'm not going to actually get a physical wall built. But it's something that he is actually really sticking with. It's an idea that he is not letting go or saying that, you know, he's going to redefine it in some other means. He's actually really keeping with this concept of building a large wall, which makes you wonder if he doesn't have friends or connections into the construction business that will be involved in this wall's production.
Big builders! Woo!
We know that Trump is a builder. He made his money off of real estate and construction and building things. And that's one of the big campaign points that he made, was that I'm a builder. I've made a very successful business. Look at all of these things that I've built. If we look at past administrations, Dick Cheney had incredible ties with Halliburton, and he used those ties to benefit Halliburton in the Iraq War. So the question going forward will be, what contracting companies will Trump use in the construction of this wall? Given that Trump hasn't released his own personal finances or his tax returns, it's more unclear if Trump has ties to large construction firms or not.
Divine True Spirit discussions. Discussions with people who have lived on Earth and who have now passed into the spirit world.
That's something that we don't know yet. But I think as more detail comes out about who he's going to have build this wall, the more clear picture we're going to have about how this wall is actually benefiting people at the top. The aspects of this story that aren't being paid attention to, and Trump is a master of distraction.
It's magic. Remember, this is a magical house, and anything in it can become magical if you just believe.
He will have the audience focus on his left hand and all of the rhetoric that he is saying and all of the tweets that he's putting out, while he accomplishes his real goal with his right hand.
It's gone. But there's an old magician's expression that says, a wrapped apple gathers no handkerchiefs. But
And so it'll be interesting to see how Trump uses that tactic in building this wall and what his real objective truly is, as he distracts everyone with the fight that he's currently having with the president of Mexico.
I want to stay here and cut myself up a fortune.